Technology in cars has advanced exponentially in the past 20 years, and headlights are no exception. They're for sure brighter, but have headlights gotten so bright that they're bad? Headlights are a safety feature. Without them, you wouldn't be able to drive at night. Other drivers wouldn't be able to see you at night, which is great if you're smuggling drugs in a black Lambo wearing night vision goggles, but not great if you're just trying to get home. But some newer headlights, whether they're insanely bright or just aimed incorrectly, create enough glare to distract and even blind other drivers. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of headlights, then go over the various types before we get into the problems and the potential solutions.
Cartwheel. Everyone and their mother can do a cartwheel.
But before we get to that, like this video. The first headlight, as we think of headlights nowadays, was introduced in 1908. Initially, they were a high-priced upgrade, but by 1911, the carbon bulb was the industry standard. Pretty early on, federal laws were passed that dictated cars not only had to have electric headlights, but they had to produce a certain amount of light measured in lumens and point only in specific directions. Headlights, same as any other light in general, are measured in lumens. Put simply, lumens is a measurement of the brightness of the light that a source emits. In the early 60s, Italian auto manufacturers started using halogen bulbs. They were essentially incandescent lights, not unlike the ones found in your house, but they had additions like bromide, what's up, dude? I didn't take chemistry in high school. But they had additions like bromide and iodine that made the bulbs glow brighter. Although the technology isn't the most efficient, halogen bulbs are still used in the majority of headlights today. A standard halogen headlight will put out around 1,300 lumens. To put that in perspective, that's the same as about 4 Maglites. Is this a gang sign? Slightly brighter than the halogen bulbs are LED lights. These lights put out about 1,600 lumens on average, but are much more efficient and have a longer life than halogen. HID, or high intensity discharge bulbs, are significantly brighter than halogen and LED. You may know them by another more common name, xenon. Xenon headlights produce on average 3,000 lumens, more than double that of halogen bulbs. BMW was the first to use them in their 7 Series sedan, which is probably why you associate rich assholes with xenon headlights. But guess what? It gets worse. Laser headlights. What the? Laser headlights can be found on new BMW i8s and 7 Series and the Audi R8. Apart from being the smallest and most efficient of the bunch, lasers can also be up to 4 times as bright as LEDs. Come on, who asked for this? It's time for Nolan's Random Fact. All you Renault, Peugeot, and Citroën fans be like, we have the warmest lights in France, ho 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 ho. Well, it may be true that French cars had yellow headlights for a while, but it wasn't because of the color temperature. From the beginning of World War II to around 1993, France required that all cars have yellow headlights to distinguish themselves from enemy vehicles. The law stuck around long after the war ended. It was only when the EU forced France to conform to its standards that the yellow headlights law was dropped. So like I said at the top, headlights are getting brighter, but brightness isn't the only thing that's making headlights dangerous. A study done by AML Systems found that nearly 10% of cars on the road have incorrectly positioned headlights. That doesn't sound like much, but for people that live in cities like LA, you're seeing around 3,000 cars a day. So if 10% of those cars have beams that are aimed poorly, that's like 300 cars. Those headlights account for anywhere from 3 to 30% more glare than the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration allows. Misaim is caused by anything from a bumpy road to luggage in the trunk to low tire pressure. But the overwhelming amount of misaimed headlights come from improperly positioned headlights that the owner or mechanic installed. If you've installed headlights and you didn't measure the beam correctly, chances are they are positioned incorrectly. Here's something you can do. This method of checking to see if your headlights are positioned correctly is super easy. All you need is a roll of masking tape and a screwdriver. Let's do it in my car. Find a location with a wall and a level surface. Pull your car right up against the wall and turn on your low beams. Using the tape, mark the center of the car. Find the horizontal middle of each headlight and mark it on the wall using the tape. Now, mark the vertical center line for each headlight using the tape. Then take a milk break. Hop in your car and back up 25 feet. Now look at the lights on the wall. They should be about 2 inches lower than the mark and slightly to the right. If you live in an area that drives on the left, your headlights should be slightly to the left. Now that you've checked and found that your headlights are aimed incorrectly, it's time to adjust them. Pop the hood and look at the top of the headlight. There are 2 screws, one for vertical adjustment and one for horizontal. While your car is still pointing at the wall, adjust the headlights accordingly. Ta-da! You've done it! That was easy.
Yeah, do a cartwheel.
You can do a cartwheel. Everyone and their mother can do a cartwheel.
Some cars actually have auto leveling headlights. AML Systems, the same company who made that study, makes a system that automatically measures and adjusts headlights on its own. The LuMEMS system, possibly the corniest named system in the automotive industry, uses front and rear sensors on the chassis to read and reposition the headlights depending on the car's angle. Wrongly positioned low beams are one thing, but drivers who use high beams when it's not necessary are a whole nother level of dangerous, and you know who I'm talking about. You could be driving down the 10 in the rain. Next thing you know, you're trying to change lanes, but there's some 1995 C-Class silver, mind you, with its lights off, right in your blind spot. Next thing you know, you're on Instagram with a hashtag Mustangs in the wild, and it's not even your fault, because that guy didn't turn his lights on. Look, there's a lot of pressure when you have a Mustang. People are watching you. So, how bright is too bright? Well, if your headlights are aimed properly, you shouldn't need
Frickin' laser beams
to light up the road. Thanks for watching Wheelhouse. It's the show where a slightly unhinged guy who believes in aliens goes on rants about car stuff. Subscribe if you want to see more of that. Follow me on Instagram at Nolan J. Sykes. Follow Donut at Donut Media.